What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are with episode 56 of the Be Grey podcast. It's your boy. We got a little bit of a longer episode, so I'm just going to hop right into it. All right. We have the NFL draft on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday. This is my official predictive mock draft, the final one I will do. I'm going to plan. Look, I'm going to try and do a 3-rounder here. Okay. It'll be at least 2 rounds, and then if I have time, I will do a 3rd round, but we'll just see how it goes. I'm going to go quicker than I usually do because usually I just do a first rounder, and those don't take very long. So I usually try and explain my picks. But I'm going to go a little bit quicker here so that I can try and get through 3 rounds in the time that I have. So, again, this is what I believe is going to happen. Just to clarify, I'm not doing any trades. Obviously, I know trades will occur and trades will happen. We all know this. It happens every year. I think, though, trades make things very wonky, and I think it makes you overthink things, and it's very hard to predict a trade. And if you predict a trade to happen that doesn't happen, your whole mock draft is basically screwed. So, there will be no trades. So, here we go. Tennessee Titans. There's really only, 2 picks that I think are pretty much set in stone right now. That I feel like this is one of those mock drafts where not a lot of people really know where a lot of these teams are going, even in the top 10. And I feel like there's really only 2 picks that everyone's kind of in agreement on how it's going to go. The first one being this pick. The Titans are going to pick Cam Ward. They don't want to go with the Mayo man, which it's fine. I don't think Cam Ward's going to be elite in the NFL. That's just my personal opinion, even though I do know ball. So, pick number 2, the Cleveland Browns. Look, a lot of people are saying that this pick is going to be Travis Hunter. Personally, I just simply disagree for a couple reasons. Number 1, the Browns have never done the smart thing or the thing that people think or the thing that everyone thinks they should do. They've never done that. They're an idiotic franchise. Number 2, I think they're not okay. I think, or actually I know because they kind of have said this, they want Travis Hunter to pretty much only play receiver. But Travis Hunter has said he wants to play both positions. I think that will make them not want to pick him. And I think they'll just go with Abdul Carter. So that's my pick. And I feel, even though everyone's picking Travis Hunter to the Browns, I feel confident in Abdul Carter to the Browns, me personally. And I think I have the Giants picking Travis Hunter. It just makes sense. They need a corner and they need a receiver, so why not get someone who can play both? Pair him up with Malik Neighbors, and then pair him up with Banks on the other side of the ball, if you truly want to do that and play him both sides. This is the other pick I think is pretty much set in stone. Patriots, Will Campbell. They need to protect Drake May. That should be their top priority, plain and simple. This pick, okay, the Jaguars, there's been a ton of smoke these past couple days about them. Oh, what are they going to do? Oh, maybe they go Tedero McMillan. Maybe they go Ashton Genty. I saw something about Shadur Sanders. Listen to me. They're not picking Ashton Genty. They're not picking Tedero McMillan. They're certainly not going to pick Shadur Sanders. This is Mason Graham. Okay? Do not look, the Jags, again, are another dumb franchise. But I think this is obvious but correct. The Raiders. It was Ashton Genty for weeks now, right? I don't think they're picking Ashton Genty, and there's been noise about that. I think they're going Will Johnson, the corner. They like Will Johnson. They desperately need a corner. They need a corner more than they need a running back. This running back class is so deep. They can easily get a really good running back in the 2nd round. There's probably only going to be 2 running backs that go in the 1st round. I think they wait. I think they go Will Johnson with pick 6. The Jets. This kind of feels set in stone as well, but the Jets are always a weird one. I think it's Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren will 100% be there, and I think he will 100% be the pick. Carolina Panthers, there's been a lot of talk about them linked to this guy, and I think this is where they end up going. Obviously, as a Georgia fan, I love this player. Jalen Walker, he's a freak athlete. They need someone on the defensive side of the ball who can rush the passer, and that's exactly what Jalen Walker can do. The Saints. Oh man, the Saints is a team where it feels like no one really knows where they're going to go, but I heard something. Someone had talked to someone who was close to the Saints and they mentioned this name, and I think that's where I'm going to end up going. I'm going to go Mykel Williams. I don't think, like, as a Georgia fan, I'm from the same hometown as Mykel Williams. I really like Mykel Williams. However, Mykel Williams, to me, always underperformed expectations while he was at UGA. That was my issue with Mykel Williams, and that's why I fear for him going to the NFL. The Bears, if Ashton Genty's there, he's the pick, 100%. So he's going to be the pick here. The Niners, another interesting one. They can go a bunch of different ways. Armand Mimbu is 100% in play, but I'm going to have them go Shamar Stewart. I think they want an edge rusher more than they want an offensive lineman right now. Although if it's not Shamar Stewart, I think it could be Mike Green, or I think it will be Armand Mimbu. Dallas Cowboys, I think they would pick Armand Mimbu here. They could use an offensive lineman. They could use a lot, to be fair. They could use a Tetero and McMillan, but it just feels like Tetero and McMillan is not going to go early. I just have this feeling he's not going to go until somewhere in the 20s, as you'll see. But Cowboys, I'm going Armand Mimbu. Dolphins, I'm going Jahdae Barron, corner out of Texas. I love Jahdae Barron. It seems like he's just continuing to rise. And I do think Malachi Starks could be a possibility for the Dolphins, but they need a corner desperately, especially since Jalen Ramsey's not going to play football for them next season. So I'm going to go Jahdae Barron. The Colts, a lot of people think, oh, Tyler Warren's not there. What will they do? It's simple. They'll pick Colston Loveland, the second best tight end, or who everyone sees as the second best tight end in this class. Colston Loveland's a good player. He's a good tight end. Colts have needed a tight end for years now, and they finally get one. The Falcons. I know the Falcons really like this guy, and so I'm going to have him going 15 here. Mike Green out of Marshall. They desperately need an edge rusher. They desperately need pass rush. That's what Mike Green's going to give you, plain and simple. Cardinals. I think they go interior defensive line here, and I think the first one that's going to come off the board is going to be Walter Nolan. Give me Walter Nolan to the Cardinals. Bengals are another interesting one. I think Malachi Starks is in play. I think Nick Emanwari is in play because they do like Nick Emanwari. I think Kelvin Banks could be in play. But I had this guy going to the Bengals months ago, and then I went off of it because it kind of sounded like maybe he could go earlier, maybe he could go later. He could go to the Cardinals at 16. I just have this feeling that Kenneth Grant is a Bengal. I don't know what is telling me that. I just am getting the feeling. So I'm going to go Kenneth Grant to the Bengals. Seattle Seahawks, I've had this guy go to the Seahawks a ton, and I'm going to have him go again here. They desperately need offensive line help. Give me Kelvin Banks. Buccaneers, an interesting team. I'm going to go Malachi Starks. They're a team that could use a really good safety along with Antoine Winfield. He's a different kind of a safety than Antoine Winfield and Tyke Smith. And I think Malachi Starks could really help shore up that defensive back room. Also, if you need to, he can play a little bit of nickel. And so I definitely think Malachi Starks would be the play for the Buccaneers. The Denver Broncos, this one feels honestly kind of concrete as well, unless he goes before this pick. Amari and Hampton, the Broncos love Amari and Hampton. Sean Payton's been very vocal about how he loves Amari and Hampton, so I think that's the pick. My Pittsburgh Steelers, listen, I am of the belief, and maybe it's me coping, but I'm of the belief, I feel like I know my team. I'm of the belief that they might like Jalen Milroe, or actually, it's not might. They do like Jalen Milroe. However, I'm not doing trades. So could they trade back into the second round and draft Milroe? Sure, they could. I definitely would do that rather than pick him at 21. But I think if Shadur Sanders is here at 21 for the Steelers, I do not think that the Steelers would pick Jalen Milroe over Shadur Sanders or Jackson Dart. I do not think they would do that. And so I'm going to go Shadur Sanders here to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Chargers, this is where I could see Tetero and McMillan going. They desperately need a wide receiver alongside Ladd McConkey. Tet is a very different receiver and would complement Ladd McConkey very well. The Packers. Oh, man. The Packers are another interesting one. I think they go edge rusher. They like to go defensive line early on in the draft, and I think they would go Donovan Ezeraku here. They like Donovan Ezeraku. I think they would take him over James Pierce Jr., given James Pierce Jr.'s off the field red flags. So give me Donovan Ezeraku to the Packers. The Vikings, I've had this guy go to the Vikings a ton. I just feel like this makes sense. I can just see him as a Viking, and that's Nick Emenwari. I think, again, it's like the Kenneth Grant to the Bengals pick I make. There's some guys that I just see them in that jersey, and I can't get away from it. And sure, I could be wrong. I probably am wrong, but that's okay. That's okay. No one is 100% right. It's just about being the closest to that. The Texans, I think, would go Matthew Golden. They need a new slot receiver since Tank Dell had a nasty injury, and he's just simply not the same guy. So I'm going to go Matthew Golden to the Texans. The Rams are an interesting one. They could go Jahad Campbell or Josh Simmons. They need a linebacker. They need an offensive tackle. But again, this is similar to the Nick Emenwari and the Kenneth Grant thing. To me, it would be so smart if the Rams picked Jackson Dart. It would just be so smart. And I feel like Sean McVay is a smart guy. They've had a ton of quarterbacks come into the building to talk to them. And I know that that's not the biggest need for them. And I feel like they are going to want to do something that's more win now, because Jackson Dart's obviously not going to start. Matthew Stafford is their starter. And me personally, if I was the Rams, I would pick Jackson Dart. I think it's such a smart pick. But I think they'll go Jahad Campbell, linebacker, out of Alabama. Shore up that defense some more. The Ravens. Ravens. What do we think the Ravens are going to do? They're an interesting one. They're a team who a lot of the time just kind of sits and lets good players just pretty much fall right into their lap. And they kind of did so again, without having to move. They need some offensive line help. So I'm going to have them go Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Lions, this guy has been linked to the Lions a ton. The Lions reportedly love him. It's Gray Zabel. He just makes sense. He seems like a Dan Campbell type of guy. Commanders, James Pierce Jr., period, paragraph. And I would love that pick for the Commanders. James Pierce Jr. is a stud. Yes, he has character red flags, but he can go to the Commanders. He could be a star for them. They need an edge rusher who can rush the passer. They need to work on that defense. The Buffalo Bills, there's been a lot of talk that they're in love with this guy, and I think he has the potential to go first round. Trey Amos out of Ole Miss, cornerback. They need secondary help, and they reportedly love Trey Amos, so I think that's the pick at 30. The Chiefs at 31, they need some defensive interior help, so I'm going to go best player available in my opinion. That's Derek Harmon out of Oregon. And then the Eagles. The Eagles are an interesting one. I think the Eagles had the potential to trade back, trade up, really do whatever they want. I'm going to have them go an edge rusher here. I've seen a few reports that they really like this guy, Nick Scorton, out of Texas A&M, and I think he could be a solid edge rusher for them. Again, it's more, they have Bryce Huff, they have Nolan Smith, but Bryce Huff has been a disappointment, and Nolan Smith, while he is getting better, he's not the star you really want him to be yet. And you really don't know how good Nolan Smith is, considering he has Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and all those behemoths they have in the interior of that defensive line to help those edge rushers. But I digress. The Browns here in the second round, if Jackson Dart is sitting here in the second round, they also could use a QB. I think they would go Jackson Dart. And then I think the Giants would go Jalen Milroe. That to me just makes a lot of sense. Um, you wait till the second round, you get a Travis Hunter and an Abdul Carter, and then you just wait and just get a quarterback in the second round. And that's the smart thing to do. Titans, they need a wide receiver to go along with Cam Ward. They have Calvin Ridley, and they could just add Emeka Egbuka, and I think that'd be a smart pick for them to give Cam Ward some weapons. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they got Mason Graham in the first round. Here, they desperately need a corner to go alongside Tyson Campbell to help that secondary. So I'm going to go best corner available, in my opinion, and that's Maxwell Hairston. I love Maxwell Hairston. It's unfortunate his career will die in Jacksonville, but that's okay. We move on, right? Next, I almost said Los Angeles Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders, I had them go Will Campbell in the first round, and this is exactly what I talked about. Just wait and get the running back you want in the second round, and that's Quinshon Judkins. That's all you have to do. It's simple. Don't reach. Just be patient. Patience is a virtue, as they say. The New England Patriots, I had them go Will Campbell in the first round. I think they could go offensive line again because I am of the belief, and I feel like the Patriots love offensive linemen and drafting them, that you need to protect Drake May. You need to protect your young quarterback. Sure. I mean, could you go Luther Burden? Sure, but what's he really going to solve? Let's be honest here. Could you go a running back and Travion Henderson? Sure. I don't think that's the biggest need, though. I think Ramondre Stevenson's going to be fine for next season. So I'm going to have them go Tyler Booker, a guy who a lot of people overrate, in my opinion. I think he is a fine player. But there was a ton of there was a moment where people had him going to the Dolphins at 13, and that's just insane. He's a second round pick, and that's where I have him going here. Patriots doubling up on offensive line. The Bears pick 39 here. They went Ashton Genty. Why not continue? They helped shore up the offensive line in free agency, but again, you need to have depth because people get injured, and that's what happens. Because the Bears, in reality, don't have, when you think about it, that many needs. I mean, running back is a need, but they have DeAndre Swift. Offensive line is a need, although I think they have all their starters. So it really would just be a backup. But that's really what any of these picks are going to be for the Bears. So I'm going to have them go a backup tackle here. It could be a starter in the future. And that's Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon. The Saints, oh man. The Saints are an interesting one. I think so they went with Mykal Williams. There's not really a quarterback here unless you go Tyler Shuck. Which is possible, but I just feel like he's late second round, third round pick. That's just my opinion. Oh man, they could go offensive tackle. They could go like a Wyatt Milam, Ariante Urzuri, Anthony Belton, Ozzie Trapillo. I think it might be a little early for that though. Corner is a possibility. They could go Savone Ravel. Or Darian Porter or Azariah Thomas. But I think I'm going to have them go receiver. They need someone else other than Chris Olave. They need a bigger body type. So it's really between Jaden Higgins and Alec Ayamaner. And I have I'm going to go Alec Ayamaner. I think he's better than Jaden Higgins, and I think he's going to go before Jaden Higgins. Just my opinion. Okay, who's next? Bears. Again, we're back with the Bears. So, in my opinion, this has to be an edge rusher. We've handled running back, we've handled offensive tackle. Now you need to handle edge rusher. But it's a question of which. Would they go Landon Jackson, Princely Umanmalen? I'll tell you what, I've heard this guy linked to the Bears. And I think this sounds like a Bears player to me. And that's Oluwafemi Oladejo, edge rusher out of UCLA. That's who I'm going to go to the Bears at pick 41. We're back around to the Jets. Who will the Jets go here? They could go tackle, right? They could go an Ariante Ursary, Wyatt Milam, but again, it might just be a tad too early for those players. Quarterback, I don't think they would go Tyler Shuck here. D tackle is a possibility. Maybe they go with Tyleek Williams, TJ Sanders. TJ Sanders would probably be the next one. Him or Tyleek or Darius Alexander out of Toledo. But I just keep looking at receiver, because in reality, all they have is Garrett Wilson. That's all they have, really, when you look at it, is Garrett Wilson. Now, we just added Tyler Warren, and what you need to do with Justin Fields is add weapons. Okay? You need to add weapons. So add another receiver. It's a question of which one. I don't think it's Luther Burden. Jaden Higgins, I think, is a possibility. To me, it's a Jaden Higgins or like a Trey Harris, maybe. I think I'm going to go Trey Harris here to the Jets at 42. Niners at 43, I think they go corner. I think this is the spot for Savone Ravel Jr. to the Niners at 43. Cowboys, the Cowboys are the type of team who would take Luther Burden. Tell me when I'm lying. I mean, are they not the type of team who would take Luther Burden, especially when you have them go Armand Mimbu in the first round, another Missouri player, double up on the Missouri, Luther Burden to the Cowboys. The Colts, what are the Colts' two biggest needs? Tight end. We handled that with Colston Loveland. What's the second need? Linebacker. Take the best linebacker available. That's Carson Schweschinger. Gosh, out of UCLA. Okay, now we get to the Atlanta Falcons. So we took Mike Green, the edge rusher, out of Marshall. So where do you go now? You could go a linebacker, maybe a Demetrius Knight. You could go, again, defensive tackle, a Tyleek Williams, Darius Alexander, TJ Sanders. Or what I think is their second biggest need other than edge rusher, corner. And it would probably be between Azariah Thomas and Darian Porter. I think I'm going to go Darian Porter here to the Atlanta Falcons. Cardinals, we got them Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss at defensive tackle. What would they go next? Wide receiver is a possibility. I personally think they should be looking at wide receiver more than the reports I've been hearing. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., great. Get someone else. Imagine you get a slot guy. Get someone in the slot that's reliable for Kyler. But I don't think that's where they go. I think they go edge or corner. I think I'm going to have them go corner. Azariah Thomas out of Florida State. Dolphins. So we had them go Jahdae Barron, corner. Where will they go with this pick? Tackle and defensive tackle. Offensive tackle and defensive tackle are needs. It's just a matter of which one. I think they might look for defensive tackle. And then it's a matter of, again, which one. It would be between TJ Sanders, Darius Alexander, and Tyleek Williams, maybe Omar Norman Lott. I think I'm going to go TJ Sanders to the Dolphins. The Bengals, we got them a D tackle in Kenneth Grant. So here we could go edge rusher, so they could go Landon Jackson here. We could go interior offensive line, maybe a Donovan Jackson or Marcus Bowe. But, I talked about safety. And, because I know the Bengals like Nick Emenwari. Malachi Starks would be a possibility. But they could just get a safety here in the second round. And I think they would go Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. Seattle Seahawks, we got them Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas. I think they go tight end here because you have to think. So the Seahawks have 2 of the next 3 picks. So you have to, with the Broncos in the middle, right? So you have to think, okay, what are the Broncos most likely to pick out of what we want? Well, the Broncos would be most likely to pick a tight end. And the Seahawks also could use a tight end. So I'm going to have the Seahawks going tight end Mason Taylor. And then the Broncos, I'm going to it's a good question. What will I have the Broncos do? We had them go Omari and Hampton. I think the Broncos would go wide receiver here. And I'm going to have them go Jack Betch or Beck. I think it's Betch. Jack Betch out of TCU. Nice slot guy for them. And then back to the Seahawks. I'm going to have them go interior offensive line. Jared Wilson out of Georgia. They could use a center. The Bucks, we had them go Malachi Starks. They're a team that could desperately use a linebacker. Best available, Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina. Packers, there's been a lot of corners going. We've had Azariah Thomas. We've had Darian Porter. We had someone else went, right? Maxwell Hairston, Savone Ravel. We've had a lot of corners go, and they could use a corner. So I think they'll jump on the opportunity to get a corner here. It's a question of which one. Which do I think will go first out of these guys? And I think it would be Dorian Strong out of Virginia Tech. Especially if they're going to lose Jair Alexander. The Chargers. So we had them go Tetairoa McMillan. Where would they go here? They could desperately use some defensive line help. I think this is where Landon Jackson could go to the Chargers at 55. Bills, we had them go corner and Trey Amos. Bunch of defensive tackles available here. I've heard that they like Omar Norman-Lott, so I think that's where I'm going to go here to the Bills. Omar Norman-Lott out of Tennessee. Now we got the Panthers. They went Jalen Walker, edge rusher. So where would they go now? Man, oh man, oh man. So there's not really a corner here, unless you want to take the risk on a Benjamin Morrison. Wide receiver, I wouldn't hate, and I definitely think is a possibility for them. Oof. Defensive tackle is a possibility. Would running back be I don't know. They have Rico Dowdle. They have do they still have Miles Sanders, or is he on a different team? I know they drafted one last year. Running back could be a possibility now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, but I don't think that's where I'm going to go. I think I'm going to have them go wide receiver. And I think I'm going to have them go Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. Yes, that's what we'll do. Then we're here with the Texans. I am going to have the Texans go offensive line this time, for sure. I'm going to have them go interior offensive line. It's just a matter of who. It would be between Donovan Jackson, Marcus Bowe, and Charles Grant. I'm going to have them go Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. The Ravens had them go tackle Josh Simmons in the first round. Good pick by them. They need an edge rusher badly. So I'm going to have them go best edge rusher available, Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss. I guess that's how you say his last name. Not exactly sure. Lions are also a team who need an edge rusher, and similarly, to the fact that, I heard Gray Zabel linked to them quite a bit. There's another guy, an edge rusher, that's been linked to them quite a bit out of Michigan, Josiah Stewart. Back to the Commanders. The Commanders are the team that I think could take a risk on some of these guys. For example, I had them pick James Pierce Jr. His skill is not a risk. He is talented. His personality is a risk to bring into the locker room. And similarly, I think they could then take that risk at another position of need for them, being corner. I'm going to have them go Benjamin Morrison because they are the team that can take that risk and afford to take that risk because they have a good team. Back to the Bills. They need a safety. And I'm going to give them Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. Chiefs, they need offensive linemen, to be fair, just period. I think this is the moment Ariante Ursary comes off the board to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles. Oh, the Eagles. I think they go interior offensive line. I think they go Charles Grant out of William and Mary because I think he'll go before Marcus Bowe or Tate Ratledge or Jonas Savanea. Back to the Giants. They have Travis Hunter and Jalen Milroe. By the way, this is the start of the third round, so we will be able to go and do a third. We'll be able to get through the third round here. Okay, round 3, the Giants. So we had them go Travis Hunter and Jalen Milroe. They could use an edge rusher. They could use a tackle. I'm going to have them go JT Tuimalau out of Ohio State, I think. Yes, that's who I'm going to have them go. I think he's the best available. Kansas City also could use an edge rusher, but I think they could also use a running back. With Isaiah Pacheco's injury and him not being as impressive last season, I could see them go running back. I think they would go. I think they would go Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. Back to the Browns. They have Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart. I also think that they will get themselves a running back, and I think it will be Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. The Raiders, we have them a running back. They got Will Johnson and Quinshawn Judkins. They need a wide receiver desperately. And it'd probably be between Jalen Knoll and Jalen Royals. They wouldn't go Kyle Williams. I don't think they wouldn't go Savion Williams. Torrey Horton could be a possibility. But I'm going to go Jalen Knoll or Noel, whatever, to the Las Vegas Raiders. The New England Patriots, a player that I've heard they like quite a bit is wide receiver Kyle Williams. So I think that's where I'm going to go here at 69. Jags, we got them a D tackle. We got them a corner. Running back could be a possibility here. I don't think Ashton Jeanty is a possibility all the way at 5. Tight end, maybe. It'd probably be Elijah Arroyo if it is a tight end. Wide receiver, also a possibility. They don't have Christian Kirk anymore. I think I'm going to have them go Elijah Arroyo. Tight end out of Miami. Saints. I've heard that they love this quarterback. So that's who I'm going to have them picking. I'm going to go Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Indeed. And who's next? The Bears. The Bears at pick 72. They went Ashton Jeanty, Josh Connerly Jr., Oluwafemi Oladejo. They could use another receiver. They could also. I don't think they need a tight end. I really like Cole Kmet personally. Personally, they could use D tackle. They could use a safety, but I don't really see that. I think they would go receiver here, and I'm going to have them go Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Jets. So we had them go tight end Tyler Warren, wide receiver Trey Harris. They need a tackle. It's just a matter of which one. I think they would go Anthony Belton. He's been flying up draft boards. Anthony Belton's a tackle out of NC State, by the way. Panthers. Back with the Panthers. We have them going Jalen Walker and Jaden Higgins. What could be the possibility for them here is the question. I think I'm going to have them go defensive tackle. I'm going to have them go Tyleek Williams out of Ohio State. 49ers could also use a defensive tackle. I'm going to have them go Darius Alexander out of Toledo. Cowboys. We got them a tackle and a wide receiver, both out of Missouri. They could use an interior offensive lineman. You know how they love their linemen. But I'm going to have them go running back. But which one? I'm going to have them go. Sorry, I'm just sitting here pondering. I'm sitting here wondering who do I think they're going to take? I'm going to have them go Cam Skattebo. As much as I would hate that because I love Skattebo. Now we're at pick 77 to the New England Patriots. They need an edge rusher. They need a running back. They need a corner. Let's see. You know who feels like he would be a New England Patriot, low-key? Jack Sawyer. Doesn't he? Doesn't he, though? I don't think that's what I'm going to go here. I'm going to go corner, Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. The Cardinals. They could use offensive line help. I'm going to have them go Jonas Savanea out of Arizona, interior offensive lineman. Houston Texans. They could use a tackle. They could use a defensive tackle. I think I'm going to have them go defensive tackle. I'm going to have them go Alfred Collins out of Texas. Colts. I think Colts might go quarterback. I think they might. I think they understand that Anthony Richardson it's already blown up in their face, if we're being honest, which I, predicted, but that's okay. So I'm going to have them go Tyler Shuck here in the third round at pick 80. The Bengals, I think it's time to get them an edge rusher, especially since they could be losing Trey Hendrickson. I'm going to have them go Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina. Seattle Seahawks. Another team that needs an edge rusher. Could be a wide receiver, though. Low key. Is there an edge rusher? I don't think there's an edge rusher I really like here to them. I think I'm going to go Torrey Horton out of Colorado State to the Seahawks. Oh, boy. It's my Pittsburgh Steelers. So we have Shedeur Sanders. Running back's a possibility. Keep that in mind. Travion Henderson's there. That's a possibility. Andrew Makuba at safety, maybe. Defensive tackle, I don't think we would go wide receiver here. Corner, maybe, with Noah Williams, maybe. I think I'm going to have to go running back. I'm going to have us go Travion will I go have us Travion? Yes, Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, who I like, by the way. 84, the Buccaneers. I think they need to go edge rusher here. They need pass rush. I'm going to have them go Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss. Broncos, we had them go Jack Betch and Amarian Hampton. They need a tight end. So I'm going to have them go Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. The Chargers also could use a tight end. Could also use a defensive tackle. What do I want to do for them? If I go defensive tackle, it would be actually, I'm gonna go CJ West, defensive tackle out of Indiana for the Chargers. Packers. So we went Donovan Ezeraku and Dorian Strong. I think I'm gonna have them go wide receiver here. And you know what? I'm going to have them go Savion Williams out of TCU. The Jacksonville Jaguars. They could use a safety. And I'm going to go Andrew Makuba out of Texas. Back to the Texans once again. What do we want to do for them? I'm going to have them go tackle. I'm going to have them go Wyatt Milam out of West Virginia. The Rams. We're back with the Rams. They had Jihad Campbell in the first round. They could use a corner. They could use a wide receiver. I don't think there's really a wide receiver here, though. Be too early. Tackle, definitely a possibility. It's probably between tackle and corner. I'm going to have them go Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College. Ravens, safety, there's nothing. Defensive tackle, maybe. Interior offensive line, I'm going to have them go Marcus Bowe. Yeah, I'm going to have them go Marcus Bowe out of Purdue. The Seattle Seahawks. What pick is this? 92? Yeah, 92. So, they got Kelvin Banks, Mason Taylor, Jared Wilson, and Torrey Horton. So what should I do for them now? Safety, no. Edge could be a possibility. Edge could be a possibility for sure. I'm going to go Braden Swenson out of LSU to the Seahawks. The Saints. We got them going Michael Williams, Eligay Manor, and Quinn Ewers. So now, what will they do? I'm going to have them go. Actually, no, I'm not going to have them go that. Actually, I will. Harold Fannin Jr., tight end out of Bowling Green. The Browns at pick 94. I think they go corner. I'm going to have them go Noel Williams out of Cal. I like Noel Williams a lot. The Chiefs. I think this is where Jack Sawyer comes off the board to the Chiefs at 95. He seems like a Chiefs player too, doesn't he? 96. The Eagles. We'll have them go safety. I'm going to have them go Lathan Ransom out of Ohio State. Vikings, we got them Nick Emenwari. I'm going to have them go running back. I'm going to have them go Jaden Blue out of Texas. He's a guy that a lot of teams like after the combine. Dolphins, this is where they go tackle Cameron Williams out of Texas. Giants, they could also use tackle, but there's not really one here. Defensive tackle, maybe. Interior offensive line, maybe. I think I'm going to have them go D-tackle. Ow, I almost hurt my elbow. D-tackle here. I'm going to have them go Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. The San Francisco 49ers. This is a guy that I've done to the 49ers a lot. I can see this guy being a 49er. Chris Paul Jr., linebacker out of Ole Miss. The Rams, man, I think the Rams go corner. Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. And then we're at the Lions. What do the Lions do? What do the Lions do? I wonder. I think the Lions, they don't go wide receiver. D tackle, maybe. Maybe. Offensive tackle, no. Corner, maybe. I could see Mello Dotson out of Kansas here. Denzel Burke out of Ohio State. Zy Alexander out of LSU. I'm gonna have them go defensive tackle. Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. There you go. There is my 3-round mock draft. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the draft this weekend. As I said, a couple weeks ago, if the Pittsburgh Steelers draft Jalen Milroe specifically in the first round, next week's episode will be me coming on here and lighting the Pittsburgh Steelers on fire on probably like a 30-minute rant. So just be prepared if that happens. If they draft him outside the first round, so second, third, fourth round, I won't be that mad. Just for the love of everything, do not draft Milroe at 21 or anywhere in the first round. I will lose all my composure. I hope you enjoyed this episode 56. After the draft, really next week, I think it's just going to be me talking about the draft and how everything went. Unless, of course, like I said, I have to rant. And then after that, it's just going to be college football. Straight up college football after that. And, Georgia got 3 huge transfer portal guys on Easter Sunday during WrestleMania. So that was fun. So I might talk about that a little bit, talk about how the transfer portal is going, Jaden Ott to Oklahoma, all that type of stuff. So just be prepared for that. I hope everyone has a tremendous weekend. I hope everyone has a tremendous week. I hope you enjoy the NFL draft. Have a great day, and don't forget to be great.